for like IP questions if you want to ask him questions after the talk. I forget, do you know what we call the channel?
I don't right offhand.
But there's a whole bunch of other channels. There's like one for AI. There's the general channel. We've got one for our civic hacking that we're doing that we can talk about like ideas that we have to help other people and things like that. But if you have questions, there's a bunch of really senior people in this group, and they love to help. And that's a great channel for you to go to and ask questions. So tonight, the sponsors is my company, Logical Advantage. I've got a couple slides I'll show you in just a little bit. And Graham from Snap. Snap's been like amazing. They've been a sponsor from the very beginning, and we've had these awesome meeting spaces here. So, Graham, I've got a slide for you if you want to talk to it.
So, how many first timers here tonight? Just a quick bit of housekeeping since we're on this floor. The restrooms are on the back side of the building, but there's security to get through on this floor. There isn't on the first floor. So if you do happen to go through on this floor, you have to go back down to the first floor to get back up, just so you know. So don't get locked out there. So either that or find me and I'll come get you. But yeah, Snap AV, we are a manufacturer of a whole bunch of products, around 3,000 different products that are all in the home audio video space. We sell to a channel called CDIA, which is your professional audio video installers. And I run a software platform called Oversee that we've had for about 5 years that allows the IP-enabled products to connect to our cloud system and to be remotely managed. And actually, we had our big event last Thursday. We crossed 2 million devices that are connected to our cloud. And they're across all the product categories that you see there. But we've worked along with Charlotte IoT for going on, I think, close to 4 years now, right? 3 or 4 years?
At least.
So it's been a lot of fun having all of you, and I know a lot of repeat people here, so welcome, and please feel free to grab me if you get lost.
Yeah, we really appreciate, Graham, everything you do to make the meeting smooth and everything. A little bit about Logical Advantage. I'm one of the co-founders of the company, and we just had our 15th anniversary, and we do really cool projects. And our projects, we focus on technical ones, but we do ones that aren't technical too. We do a lot of web projects, a lot of mobile projects, and we're really growing out our IoT space. And that's why I started the Charlotte IoT 4 years back, because IoT is like a huge passion of mine. And I've talked about this a few times, but like one of the epic projects we did is for a textile factory where there's 3,000 of these spindles. We did a prototype with a particle photon, and we've got extra swag here from Particle, but we've done talks at this group on Particle, and we're using what we learned. And the PCB has the P1 from Particle in it, and all the inputs from sensors that were on the machine we posted in Azure. We can run analytics, predict failure eventually, and right now we're just showing utilization. But so it's really cool projects that we're doing, and I hope to talk have one of our team members talk about another project we're doing coming up soon. So here's the case study. If you go to Particle's website, there's a really awesome case study. And we've also done smart city projects. We helped, Toronto was the first city that put RFID tags in the trash bins, the recycle bins. They want to know who's recycling and who's not. And there's readers on the trash trucks, over 1 million carts, and it's now in like 130 cities. A whole bunch of really fun projects. And Mike's going to come up and talk about Particle, who's just giving us some swag. And we already loved Particle, and now we have another reason to love them more. And for those of you who don't know, Mike, he's our swag coordinator, and he's done really good and like having companies give us fun stuff. Take it away.
Thanks, Dan. Hello, Charlotte IoT. I think at this point we've got an opportunity. We had for well over a year Hackster.io giving us routine sponsorship in the form of money that we could use for swag, buying parts, IoT parts that we could hand out during the meeting. And raise your hand if you love using or playing with IoT components. Okay, so that's nearly everybody raised their hand. And what I'd like to propose is that we go, and I'm going to work on this. This is my task, but I'm going to go out and offer to the world an opportunity to give us swag. What I'd like this group to do is offer to get the swag, play with the swag, and then do something more. I want the comments to come back to the company through social media, through our wonderful YouTube channel, and directly to the company in the form of blogging and things like that. If we can do that, if we can have people that get stuff from us, play with it, and then make remarks and make comments, and even I suggested to Dan, during the startup of our meeting, we've got little opportunities for people to speak. If we could have people actually play with the parts and then come up in front of the camera and review the thing and tell us something about what they did, I really think we're going to get a lot of response. There's this guy, they call him the guy with the Swiss accent. And I don't know how many of you have seen his YouTube videos. Raise your hand if you have. Okay, so a number of us have, and I always make little remarks on our Slack channel about him. He gets stuff sent to him, boxes and boxes of stuff sent for review. And there's a lot of other people on YouTube that get swag just because they're willing to get on their YouTube channel and talk about it. So I think if we can get proactive in terms of responding to the companies and giving them a value proposition, getting their name out in front of us, and I've even thought about contacting some of the people that are distributors, like there's DigiKey and there's Mauser in the United States, and there's an umbrella company, I think it's Symmetry. These guys are good guys, and I'm sure that they would like to get into a relationship where they give us a modicum of parts and we hand them out to people and they get to work with them. So anyways, that's my message. If you're willing to volunteer to do that, maybe we need a group of people that are, yes, committed to do that, or in general, we can ask everybody, if you're willing to do that, we can continue to just hand swag out as we get it. And that's what we'd like to do. We don't want to keep a stock of anything. We want it in the hands of people, hobbyists like yourself, that are going to work with it. Thanks, Dan.
So we also, tell them about the
swag
we have.
So we've got 3 things that are called the Maker Kit. And that's what you've got. Is that the Maker Kit right there?
Yeah, $89.
Okay. So the particle maker kits, we've got 3 of them. I think have a photon in them. That looks like a FPGA. Is that Max an FPGA chip in there? So I don't have a lot of information on here. Actually, Particle sent me the stuff after I filled out their form to say we're interested. And they didn't do anything in terms of telling me I need to do stuff or here's what we're going to be doing in the future. It was just here's a parts order. So I don't have a lot. They're not, whoever's running their outreach to makerspaces isn't doing a lot of communication. And what I'd like to do is turn that around for us and make sure we do a lot of communication back to Particle and say, hey, we love you guys and thank you very much for all the parts. And we're going to get these in the hands of hobbyists. And then we're going to try and get them to get in front of the camera and give you some responses. So the third thing is called the sensor kit. And this looks like it's got a lot of stuff in it. So do you have a picture of the sensor kit?
Yeah, it's one of these.
Oh, okay. So this
Probably
might be this one.
Is it got the cell one?
It's
the Electron.
Small cellular system particle starts. It's hard to see from the.
So it's got the Electron, which is it's got a whole cellular module in it, and the code is the same as the particle photon, but it's just got a cellular bridge and modem built into it instead of Wi-Fi. So it makes.
I'm sure you can have lots of fun.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Yeah, so at the end of the meeting tonight, if you guys are interested, I'll get you guys to raise your hands, and whoever's like the most excited, we'll give it to them. So yeah, so be excited when we ask you to raise your hands. And also, if you guys could go on Twitter and go to Particle and mention both Particle and Charlotte IoT in your message and thank them, and then hopefully they'll keep the gravy train coming to us. Oh, sorry, I'll go back. I see the pictures being taken.
I was actually going to take a picture with you.
Yeah, sweet. The slides in the wrong sequence, but Logical Advantage, we're always hiring now, and we just hired a bunch of web devs, so what we really need more than anything is an Angular version, someone that is version 2 or higher of Angular, and we're doing version 6 to lead a team of developers. So please talk to me if you guys know anyone or if you're interested in that. And we're also hiring some database developers. So we got a lot of cool things going on with the Riot group. Raise your hand if you guys know what the Riot group is. Charlotte IoT is a chapter of Riot. The Riot started out in Raleigh, and they've got a couple splinter groups like us who are part of the whole Internet of Things movement. And they're really they're getting grant money, and they're doing a lot of good things in the community of spreading like IoT marketing, helping entrepreneurs, and helping us with the lunch and learn. So they've been doing like bi-weekly or so lunch and learns in Raleigh, and they're all technical content, a lot like our meetings, and they've gotten a lot of traction on it. And so now what we're doing is doing the same thing in Charlotte. So the presenter is coming in Raleigh area doing a talk, and then while they're flying in town, they'll come to Charlotte too. So people can get twice as much for their travel, and these are going to be really good meetings. And our very first one is tomorrow, but if you haven't registered, it's too late for you. We had to cap it because the space is limited, and just be on the site because we'll be posting these first come, first served basis. And we've got like a whole bunch of killer meetings coming up. The next one is AWS Night, and we've got a couple solution architects. One's coming out of Florida, one's local to Charlotte. And this is going to be great. We're going to focus on the cloud and IoT suite of products and things like that. So you guys aren't going to want to miss this next month. It's going to be an awesome meeting. And then we just have like 4 killer meetings in a row. KX, have you guys heard of KX? What about like InfluxDB is part of their competitor. So their time series data, really good if you're doing like machine learning and you need to store a bunch of data and you need to run it through a model or something like that. KX is really good at time series and also I think they may have visualization tools. I'm not even sure. So we're going to learn from them, and not only going to learn from them, they're going to bring us beer and we're going to drink at the end of the meeting, and we're going to do some networking too. So we'll learn. We'll do a hands-on workshop and then we'll drink. Maybe not in that order, I'm not sure, but it'll be fun.
Dan, is that from Winston-Salem, that company KX?
No, KX is headquartered in Europe, and one of their architects is coming in from London. He works here in New York City, but he's traveling for the meeting. And but yeah, they're headquartered, I believe, in London.
Dan?
Yeah.
I think I've been to a KDB and KX meeting in Raleigh, and I think they've got an office space in Raleigh, and they've got engineers in Raleigh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how big it is, but they came and did a dog and pony show last, it might have been over a year ago, and they were asking for engineers in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Awesome. Was it a good talk?
It was a very good talk.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Now we have Google. So we got AWS, KX, Google. The details are going to be posted soon, as soon as I get them, but it's November, so we got a couple months to dream about what they're going to talk about. We know it's going to be awesome because it's Google. And then finally, it's like all the big boys are coming to Charlotte IoT, except for this time we're doing a field trip. We're going to go to Microsoft and do this at Microsoft. They've got a campus, Microsoft Way, which is right off Arrowwood. It's pretty close to here. And it'll be just like our normal meetings with pizza and things like that, but it'll be at Microsoft, and we're lining up a whole bunch of good talk speakers for that. Oh, finally, the next Lunch and Learn will be November 13th, and it's with Walt, I think that's how you pronounce it, Design. They're a design shop. If you look at the picture, it reminds me a lot of, where do we have our field trip with, the name just slipped my mind. Anyways, they're like an inventor's shop. They help make ideas and prototypes and things like that. And they're going to come to Charlotte IoT and, for the Riot Lunch and Learn. And that meeting's not posted yet. It'll be posted shortly.
Are all the lunch and learns at
At the,
Advent Co-working Center.
co-work.
Yeah, yep. So tonight, our main event is Inventors Night, and I want to thank John from traveling from Raleigh to share his wisdom and his goodness with us. And then second, Kirk, where is he? Oh, sorry. He's going to talk on some of the really awesome projects that I assume you're going to talk about the lake
Yeah, the water level tester.
water level tester. So it's going to be a night of first we talk about patent attorney and how to protect our ideas, and then some of Kirk's really sweet ideas that he's done. So thank you guys for talking tonight, John, who's coming up here. Yes.
And before you start, I apologize. You know how it is with the
Yeah.
I apologize about that, guys. But so for my company, we help companies with supply chains eliminate counterfeit products. We use blockchain and IoT. So, and recently we just started doing like social media marketing for small and medium-sized businesses. So thank you for letting me.
And thank
tell
you
what I
for
do.
volunteering your time to make this even better. Do you want me to put this off or?
Yeah, good. I wanted to say, we sometimes have prepared presentations that we'd like to give, but tonight I want to talk about the broader sense of what intellectual property is all about. I mean, people hear about patents, and I'll get into my qualifications in just a moment. People hear about patents, and we found with a lot of inventors that a lot of the information that they get is either incomplete or incorrect. So, as sponsors of Riot in Raleigh, and as a mentor to Riot, we contacted Dan and said, we'd love to be able to come and talk with the inventors to give you the straight information, both in terms of strategic sense and in terms of what it takes to get a patent and what a patent can do for you. So I don't have a slide presentation tonight. I apologize for that. But, yeah, but hopefully we'll be a little bit more entertaining that way. And hopefully if you have any other questions or any other information that you want, you can ask Dan to contact me, or I have cards that I will leave here on the table that you can contact me with questions later on. Tonight, my associate Taylor Arnold is here. Taylor has a connection with Charlotte, and he's here frequently. So if you do want to have a personal conversation with a patent attorney, we can set you up with Taylor when he's here in the area. That would work well. So let me start out with my background. I've got a degree in electrical and computer engineering. Spent 18 years as a software programmer, software engineering manager. And then in 2000, when the tech bust happened, I know some of you remember that, the company I was working for, I was the chief technical officer. It actually died. So at that point in time, I didn't want to go back into management. So a buddy of mine who was a patent attorney said, patent office is always looking for double E's. Why don't you think about joining them? Joined the patent office and loved intellectual property law. I love everything about patents. I love everything about the innovation process, everything about the whole idea of coming up with something that's never been done before and pulling it into the arena where you can protect it so that you can benefit from your own inventions and your own ideas. It's not an easy thing to do. So when I joined the patent office, I was there as a patent examiner for 4 years. Rose to the level of senior examiner when I decided I want to go back to law school and change careers over into becoming a patent attorney, so I can help people like y'all. Spent the 3 years that I was in, 4 years I was in law school. It was actually 4 years because I was going to school at night while I was working for Woodcock Washburn out of Philadelphia as patent counsel. And then when I graduated, I joined a company called Digital Smiths out of RTP. As their in-house patent counsel, we grew their patent portfolio from 8 patents to 23 patents over a period of 3 years' time, whereupon they were acquired by TiVo. TiVo spun out the entire patent portfolio and monetized it separately. And I was a counsel to TiVo for 6 months or so to do that. And upon that point in time, my partner and I started my own practice, our own practice. Now, we organized ourselves not as a law firm, but as a consulting practice. And we did this on purpose, because a law firm will help you with legalities. What we'll do is we'll not only help you with legalities, and again, we have a whole presentation about preparation and prosecution of patent applications, but we'll also help you with strategy. What do you need to know first before you plunk down your hard-earned money to go and get a patent application? Those types of considerations have to be brought up first. What do you need to know about strategically? Is this going to be worth it to you? What do you need to know about search? Who else is doing what you're doing and how far along are they? All of these types of considerations are things that as solo inventors or in companies that are very innovative, you have to think about this first, because I'll tell you right now, a patent application, a non-provisional patent application, which is the application that can mature into a patent, costs between $20,000 and $25,000 to get through the entire process per patent. Now, it's not a lot to a company like IBM, it's not a lot to a company like Apple. It's a lot to a solo inventor.
Mhm.
So before you plunk down that kind of money, and it takes for software patents specifically. Now, I happen to be a software specialist. You know, my firm has we've gotten 5 software patents through the patent office so far this year. And it's a difficult process because the Supreme Court doesn't like software patents. So they've made it difficult. However, there are you can get a software patent, there's some things you gotta know. And so we can talk about that a little bit when I get out of strategy and more into the nuts and bolts. I'm gonna try and keep this to 20 to 30 minutes, so you let me know, what my time is on. Honestly, I could talk about patents and intellectual property all night, because it's just something that I love to do. So when you're making the decision on whether and how you should protect your idea, and again, the whole thing about this, and this is the thing that people, somehow they get whole bound up in the idea of, I've got this great idea and I've got to protect it. Okay, protect it for what reason? The reason that you want to protect your idea is so that you can benefit from it monetarily. That's the whole reason. So if you get halfway through this process and you realize that either A, you've come up with a better idea, B, there's somebody who's doing it better, or C, there is an opportunity for you to benefit by selling your idea to somebody else, you've met your goal. So don't become so in love with the idea of getting a patent that you ignore the ability to have somebody partner with you, and so that you can gain monetarily from your idea through them helping you with your patent process or buying your patent from you. They'll even sometimes, and this happens very, very rarely, but sometimes if your idea is good enough and scalable enough, they'll partner with you or they'll buy it from you before it actually is finished going through the patent process. That's very rare. Normally, an investor wants to see either a patent that's been allowed, that means that it's enforceable, or a patent that's in process with a very good prospect of being allowed. And as a patent attorney, we can give you some parameters around what we think your chances are. So I'm going to go now into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts. But first, Taylor is of counsel to our firm. Taylor is an inventor in his own right. I guess you do primarily mechanical or software.
I've been off and on inventor of toys and consumer products for 20 years, and it's been an interesting process. But when I had an opportunity to join Soto IP, it was in part to be able to help people who had ideas avoid some of the pitfalls that befell me before going to law school and deciding to become an attorney. And one of the main things is knowing what your end goal actually is. I think it's easy to get swept up in the idea of patent, simply because you feel like you're suddenly in the realm of Edison, and forget that the end goal is to
Benefit from it.
make some sort of a monetary gain, right? And so it's something that I've been enjoying doing with John for a year. We'd love to help you out. So if there's any opportunity for me to meet you down here, I'd be happy to do that.
Cool. So we have There are various areas in which you can patent something. There are mechanical devices, there's software programs, there are other types of processes, there are manufactured items, compositions of matter in terms of, like pharmaceuticals or other types of, a new formulation for lubrication, all types of things. These are the areas in which you can seek patent protection. And again, one of the things that you need to be concerned about first is, what is your competition doing? What else is out there that you need to be concerned about that could stop you from getting a patent, that could stop you from utilizing your innovation. So when you start thinking about strategically what you want to do with intellectual property, you want to take a look at what's out there through something called a patent search. Now, everybody's heard of searching. I'm sure that many people in this room are very qualified searchers in terms of data stores. But when I talk about a patent search is a very specialized type of search that looks at words, looks at concepts, looks at functionality, looks at categorization in order to find applications and patents that have already expressed an idea that's similar enough to yours that it would prevent you from getting a patent. The other part about a patent search is that, big companies recognize how valuable patents can be. I mean, IBM gets $2 billion a year in license fees from the patent portfolio. They have a huge incentive in their company for people to bring new ideas. They have weekly patent meetings for discovery of new patents. And there are people at IBM, a gentleman who works for us, his name is Bill Piazza. He was a master inventor at IBM, holds 60 patents himself, and he is our top searcher. He and I do the searches and search reports. But one of the things that he told me is that they're always seeking new twists on old technology, because the fifth category of patentability is an improvement to what has gone before. The old field saying, build a better mousetrap and there'll be a path to your doorway. I mean, if you're as old as I am, you certainly heard that phrase. But it's true. If you can show that you have solved a problem in an existing system in a unique way, that's an improvement over the existing system, that's patentable. And you don't have to buy a license fee from the owner of the old way of doing it, because you have shown that you have a non-obvious improvement to what they're doing. So your solution stands alone. And so you can benefit from that, either in terms of building a company around it, licensing it out to others. You can monetize that separately without having to worry about paying license fees to the owner of the old idea. So keep that in mind. You want to look for improvements to existing systems that solve a known problem or solve a problem in a unique way. Again, these are things that you need to think about before you ever start the process of calling somebody like myself and saying, I need to file a patent application. So the very first step, again, search. Excuse me. Now, when we do a search, the examiners do searching very, very differently than what a simple technology searcher would do. They start with keywords that express broad concepts. But the Patent Office has a very, very involved classification system. And so what you want to do is an examiner will start with keywords, and then they'll take the keyword, find out where that classification is, and then pull up everything in that classification, and then refine that into forward and backward citations, what else has gone before, and library searches. They're looking for context, contextual statements about functionality. They're not looking for any specific word. They're not looking for any specific phrase. They're looking for contextual analysis of functionality and or structure. So that's what a patent search is all about. And when I talk to entrepreneurs who are less technical than y'all, I basically say, you can go out and do a patent search and start with your keywords, and you'll find about 80% of what's out there. It's the other 20% that you won't discover. And an examiner's going to find it all. Examiners are stone cold experts when it comes to these types of searches. And what you'll do is then you'll file your patent application in the belief that you found everything that's out there that could bother you, and the patent examiner will come back with something that you never even thought of, but is directly relevant to how you've done your solution. So when you but is directly relevant to how you've done your solution. So when you decide to do a patent search, you want to contact somebody like me or somebody like a qualified patent agent and say, give me a patent search and the patentability opinion. And the reason I say that is the patentability opinion really is the most important part, because you go out there and find everything that's out there, but what does it mean? You know, claims are the only part of a patent application that is fully defensible in a court of law. So patentability opinion looks at what's the same and what's different in all the prior art that they found, and draws the table of distinctions for you as to how you were different, and gives you the best guess as to how you would make it through the patent office if you file a patent application. What are your chances? So at the end of the patent search, for the patentability opinion, you have a good idea of your roadmap. Do I move forward or not? You know, if there are a lot of things out there, we call it prior art. If there's a lot of prior art out there that's very similar to what you're doing, your chances are not good. If there's very little prior art, or the prior art is only peripheral, then your chances are pretty good. That being said, when you get into the whole idea of filing a patent application, then you have to decide on whether you want to file a provisional patent application or a non-provisional patent application. Now, some of you may have heard these terms before, but let me just, for the room as a whole, a provisional patent application is a priority placeholder. Basically, it gives you 12 months under patent pending status to do market surveys, to complete your process, complete your device, whatever it is, to go to market, to find investors, all under the umbrella of patent pending status, so that nobody can usurp your priority. It lasts for 12 months, and at the end of 12 months, you can convert that provisional patent application into a non-provisional patent application, but keep the same priority date, such that your priority date for the non-provisional goes all the way back to the filing date of the provisional. The non-provisional patent application, the primary distinction is that's the one that has the claims in it. Remember I said earlier, claims are the only part of a patent application that are defensible in a court of law. That's how you enforce your patent. If somebody comes along and does almost exactly the same thing that you're doing, maybe a minor tweak here that is different, that right there, you need to look at the claims as to what was granted in your patent against what that other product is. If it's 98% the same, they're infringing upon your patent, in which case you can then enforce. Now, enforcement takes, you can't just come up to somebody and say, all right, stop or I'm going to sue you. If you do that, the courts don't look at it kindly. They basically say, look, you got to give people a chance to do the right thing, pay you to use your invention. So the very first step in enforcement, once you get your patent granted, is that you send somebody a letter that is a license agreement letter. Hey, I noticed what you're doing looks very, very much like my patent, such and such. Here are the elements. We'd like to offer you the opportunity to take a license from us in order to continue making and using and selling our invention. And that's a win-win. Because remember, the whole point about this is you're trying to benefit from your idea. Well, if you can get somebody to pay you a license fee to utilize your patent, even though they're putting our products out in the market, they paid you for that privilege. You get money out of it, they get to continue to sell their product. It's a win-win. So that's the first step in enforcement. The second step, if they ignore it, or if they decide, no, I don't want to pay your license fee, or you make the license fee so high that it's not commercially reasonable, then the next step, it would be the cease and desist letter. And you'll send a cease and desist letters to license our technology. You decided not to take it. We need you to stop. please destroy all molds, stop selling, stop marketing, stop. If they ignore that, that's when you go into litigation and file a lawsuit. So you really have a 3-step process for enforcement. Now enforcement, yes sir?
Can you enforce things across countries?
No, not unless you have filed a patent application in those other countries. And there's a process for doing that. It's called the Patent Cooperation Treaty. The Patent Cooperation Treaty, I'll just diverge just a second here. The Patent Cooperation Treaty was created to harmonize the intellectual property laws for all of the countries in the world, because everybody has a different set of patent laws. All patents are geographically enforceable. So a patent permits you, if you have a US patent, you can permit others from making, using, selling, or importing your patented invention. So you can't stop somebody from selling your patented invention in this market where you have the US patent. You stop them at the border. But you can't stop an Australian from selling products that are like yours in Australia unless you have an Australian patent. And the way that you do that is when you file your patent in the United States, you file pretty much at the same time an application on the PCT. That reserves your right for up to 2.5 years to choose other countries in which you want to file for patent protection. Like we have clients currently, they have filings in Japan and Australia, in Europe and Canada. So, we have helped many clients with these types of issues as well. The problem is that you have to decide in what country you think you're going to be able to sell stuff, because it can be expensive to file in like Germany and England and Australia at the same time. But if you decide that you have markets in those countries, then the investment is worth it. So we would help you by coordinating with outside counsel in those countries, because the laws are different, and then coordinate that process to get your patent filed in what they call the national stage in that particular country. So remember, the whole watchword about this is, where else are you going to sell before you decide which country you want to file a foreign or national patent application. But it can be associated with the US patent. Yes?
So each patent application in each country is roughly about 20-25K?
No, they're all over the map. That's the United States only. I know for a fact the Australian patent application was about half of that. And I know for a fact that the second Japanese patent application that we're prosecuting is about 20% more than that. So it all depends upon the country. It's very, very different between every country. China is much less expensive, believe it or not. Yes,
early on, you mentioned about the secrets of doing the keyword search.
Yes.
That you have the expertise in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that the government loves paper, so allowing us to do the keyword search.
Mm-hmm.
What's the expiration on the patents?
Oh, a patent expires 20 years from the date of earliest priority. So if you file a provisional patent application and then file a non-provisional patent application off of that, the date of earliest priority goes back to the very first filing, which is that provisional. But if you don't do a provisional and just start with a non-provisional, that's your date of earliest priority. So 20 years from the date of earliest priority, and it's enforceable as of the date of publication, which can be 3 years later. But because the priority goes back to the very first priority date, you can seek to get profits from somebody who's infringing all the way back to the date that you first filed.
Well, you're going back 23 years, and I don't think the government was electronically
Doesn't matter.
capable 23 years ago.
I was there when they did this. They have scanned every single document.
But see, the scanning doesn't get the keywords unless.
Oh yeah, they did. They converted it as well. The OCR, yeah, it's an
Oh,
OCR
wow.
conversion. I know, because I was there when they did it. That entire conversion happened between 2001 and 2005. And when I was there, we started with we had these files that were literally this thick of paper for prosecution. And we took all of those files and turned them into electronic characters.
See,
If you
two
go
thousand
out
one is
to-
less than 23 years ago, so they had to scan that
Yep.
5-year package, if
Yeah,
you will.
they've scanned all the way back to 1975
Why?
because many patent applications prior to 1975 were either in character sets that they can't recognize, some were handwritten.
But they're expired, they're expired.
Yeah, I agree, but they're still usable by patent examiners to deny patent applications that are expressing old ideas.
Oh, that's right,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
So how do we go back to the 1900s and stuff?
They have PNGs. They have or PN.
It's a graphic format.
It's a
for-
graphic format. Yeah,
PNG.
I'm pretty sure it's PNG. I was confused
It's
whether
PNG.
it's that one or another picture format. It's like photographs.
Yeah.
So it's like photographs.
Yeah.
So you can read them, you know, even the handwritten ones from long, long ago. But in fact, I've got a friend. He's still a patent examiner, and he does all of these gaming devices down in Las Vegas, and he has used patents from 1902 against currently existing applications because the function was the same. Just because you're putting it onto a new general purpose computer does not confer patent eligibility on something that's already well known and well used and been in the public domain for 100 years. So, yes, sir.
So if I invented something like 8 years back that was pretty cool stuff, but I posted it online and open source parts of it,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's not patentable or.
That's correct. The United States changed their law system in 2013. Prior to 2013, it was first to invent. So even if you created something 7 years ago, if you kept it secret, or you could show it through lab notebooks that you were the first one to invent it, you could still file for and receive a patent. As of 2013, that's no longer true. That's no longer true. Because of the American Invents Act, you have 12 months from the date of first public disclosure to file for some type of patent protection, or your right is given freely to the public.
Does a tweet count?
Yes. Depending upon what you put in the tweet. Okay. And this is a very good point. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. When I say public disclosure, I'm talking about giving details of what your invention is about. Like I tell my clients all the time, whenever you remember this, tell them what you're doing, not how. And the second concept is, when you want to move forward with patent protection, you want to do two things. You want to tell your patent attorney what you're doing is different, what makes it new and innovative, and what you want to protect. Those are the two most important concepts. How are you different, and what do you want to protect?
Can you talk about how open
What makes it new and innovative, and what do you want to protect? Those are the two most important concepts. How are you different, and what do you want to protect?
Can you talk about how open source hardware and open source software has
Yeah.
impacted the?
We see this all the time. Because open source, under